Oh, hey everybody. So thank you for joining me on this wonderful Tuesday evening, guys. I do appreciate you always taking the time out of your day and finishing up your evenings with me. I'm always grateful and eternal for everybody that actually follows along and again, it's part of the show. You guys are just as important, just as interactive to everything that goes on. So, guys, thank you so much for that. Guys, if you're watching on Instagram, thank you as well. So let's start with the particulars and get them out of the way. If this is your first time watching us live, we are streaming across multiple platforms. So we are streaming live on our YouTube channel. So if you're watching there, do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe button. You can find us there at www.madefromscratch. www.youtube.com/the letter C / made from scratch broadcast. Let me just kind of pull it up on the screen so you guys know what to look for. So there it is right there. You can check it out there, youtube.com/made from scratch broadcast. We are streaming live there. And again, if you're watching there, do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe button. We always are trying to build our viewership there, and hit the notification button. It'll let you know whenever we do have live events like this or whenever we do upload new content, new videos. So do us a favor, if you're watching on YouTube, check us out there. And then we're also streaming live on our Facebook page. So if you can go there, it is at our Facebook page name is Made from Scratch Podcast on our Facebook page. So do us a favor, hit the like there as well, guys. Hit the like there, and it will also give you notifications whenever we do drop new live content. And then whenever we do post new stuff, it will show up there as well. Then you can follow along as well on my profile page at Gabriel Leal on Facebook. So if you're watching there, check us out. I do appreciate it so much. And then also streaming live via Periscope on Twitter. So if you're watching on Twitter, we are at MFSB Live on Twitter. Drop in your comments there. I do appreciate it. We can also interact with those on the show. And then we're also streaming live via LinkedIn. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, guys, drop it in the comments and, just say hello. And we'll definitely pull it up, while we're streaming live here, which is pretty awesome, guys. Thank you so much, everybody who, is again, watching along and following along on the show. So guys, thank you so much. And then also check out our website, and that is at www.madefromscratchpodcast.com. You can find links to the show, past episodes. You can find links to our podcast, which we do stream. We take the audio from here, we put it into a podcast format, so you can check out all the past episodes if you want to listen to it. And again, if you're watching there on LinkedIn, do us a favor, drop it down in the comments. So thank you so much, everybody who's followed along. And let's go ahead and get started with this evening's guest. So he started his journey about a year ago in the corporate world, and he's brought a different aspect. He's done different things in his career, and we'll talk a little bit about all of that going forward. But one of the cool things that I liked about this evening's guest is the fact that this is what's for me kind of cool whenever I find everybody who's out there and is trying to find their path, is he's pretty young doing this, and it's pretty interesting. So he's done different things in his career, just to name a few. So let me pull this up real quick so you can kind of see if it'll pull up the graphic here. Sorry, we're doing some producing on the fly, folks, but this is what it is when you can do. So, like I said, he's done a few different things. He's been a ranch hand, a horse wrangler. He's worked in business. He's been a business development manager. He's worked for a field marketing company, restaurant management, landscaping. So he's done a lot of different things for being so young in the corporate environment, guys. So do me a big favor and help me welcome. Oh, come on, there you go, Owen Shirk to the show. Hey, Owen, how are you doing?
Hey, man. Doing good.
Doing good, right? Awesome. So, one of the first of all, thank you for coming on the show and taking the time out to come on. Always appreciative of that. But one of the first things that I wanted to kind of jump into was, of course, let's talk about how you started. First of all, your journey into working in a corporate environment. You work for a company that is based out of New Zealand, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so kind of tell us how you, because again, I just kind of listed of all the things that you've done sort of in your past, which is pretty extensive. Um, Kind of tell me how you got into working with Q Jumpers, the name of the company that you work for now.
Yeah. So basically, when I first got my first job, it was at a restaurant. And so what that allowed me to do is just really understand what customer service was. And so by doing that, I kind of bounced around like you saw from like restaurants to field marketing. And so I was very in front of the customer all the time. And then I loved to work with my hands. So I had some family friends that needed some ranch hand work done. And then I was a horse wrangler up in Colorado for a month. So some different things. But what ended up happening is my wife and I moved back to Texas after we got engaged, and I was working at a restaurant. I was bartending, and the CEO of Q Jumpers had been coming to Dallas for a while, and he ended up hiring a new VP of sales, and he knew that we'd known each other for a little bit, and so he brought him to eat at the restaurant I was working at. And the VP of sales actually saw how I was bartending and saw how I was talking to all my bar guests and could tell that I could sell. And they were actually looking for a salesperson for the company. And so they asked if I'd go get coffee the next day, and I became a software salesperson. And so I've just kind of, in a way, went with how the wind blows. And like a lot of people, pretty much just kind of fell into the recruiting industry.
Awesome. So yeah, so you kind of worked your way into it, and like you said, you were working in a whole different. You were kind of working in a whole different field at the point, and before you made this, made this jump. So you got people saying hello there. Hey, my friend Owen. So Noah. Awesome. So you know, when I start, when I started doing this sort of thing, right? I was kind of like. It was kind of new to me. So, what are some of the things that you've learned jumping into, going from, say, like an industry where you were in the restaurant industry into learning how to do something, what you're doing now? So, what kind of transition was that, and what are some of the skills that you've learned so far along this journey?
So what I've learned is that you don't realize how many skills you learn in various different jobs will actually carry through to whatever you're going to do next. And so a lot of people are like, oh, I'm working in retail, or I'm working in fast food, or I'm working in restaurants. I can't carry any of these skills over. And so they don't take it seriously. And so I took every job that I had very seriously. And because of that, I was able to take a lot away from all these jobs and carry them into the position I'm in now. And so, I mean, I've learned like basically you can't get much done without hard work. You have to take the time to get things done and just be present. And so in all my jobs, I was there, I was ready to talk, I was ready to do the job that needed to be done. And that's probably what's helped me the most in the position I'm in now, is just being ready, being able to be kind of like omniscient, like be kind of like someone that can do multiple things, and don't pigeonhole yourself.
Right. That's a great way. So kind of kind of tell us a little bit more about before we go in, further into your career stuff. Kind of tell us a little bit more about yourself. What are some of the things that you love to do, like I don't know, personally, or what are the things that you do to kind of let loose and unwind? Tell us a little bit about that.
Let loose and unwind.
Yeah.
So I grew up. I started snow skiing when I was 3. And so I've skied pretty much my whole life. That's actually why I went to Colorado, is to go and ski. So I lived there for 2 years, and that's like in my blood. Grew up boating, so very outdoors. And then right now, I have an older Jeep, and so I spend a lot of nights and weekends working on that, trying to get it where I want. And then actually this past Sunday, my buddy and I went down to San Antonio for a drift event. So a lot of car stuff now that I'm a little bit older. I realized that boating and skiing are both very expensive things to do.
Right.
So not doing as much of that as I'd love to.
Yeah. So, and let's delve a little bit more into a few of the things that you've mentioned in your past. You said you were a horse wrangler and a ranch hand. How does somebody land in something like that? Was it somebody that you knew, or is it just something that somebody kind of mentioned to you and just went and did it?
So I was a part of Young Life in high school and went to a camp in West Virginia and then also to a camp in Colorado. And so when I was living there, I just got a big urge to give back because it really did give a lot to me whenever I was in a part of Young Life. And so I was like, you know what? I can go and serve for a whole month. And they have different jobs. You can work in the kitchen. You can work. Uh, it's called Ridge Runners. It's like little go-karts on a dirt track. And the most memorable part of me when I was there was we went on a morning ride at 7 in the morning. We rode horses out to a campfire, cooked breakfast over the campfire, and then rode back into camp. And it was just the most memorable part for me. And I grew up around horses. And so for me, I just really wanted to be, I switched what I wanted to do. So I applied to do it and they told me I could do it. And I was like, well, I guess I'm leaving in like 3 weeks. And went and lived on a camp and pretty much just ran around with horses for a month. And it was great. It was definitely different. It was. I mean, I've never been a morning person. I had to wake up at 4 in the morning every single morning while I was there for a month straight. And so that put it in a nice little habit. But other than that, just kind of went with it. Wanted to give back, and it's something that I thought that I would enjoy the most out of.
That's awesome, though. Again, so you've done different things. You've had a taste of a whole lot of, because again, some people, they start their careers in one thing, and that's primarily what they, spend the majority of their time in. So, when you talk about their experiences, it's usually, well, I started here at this company. I've been here for this long, but you've actually kind of bounced around, there's nothing wrong with that. I think you learn. Well, it was when I was
young. All those jobs were from when I was like 16 to 20. And
yes.
So when I was 20, I was like, I know what I want to do. Let's go do it.
Right. So, but again, you go out and you get these experiences. For some people, some people don't even get their first jobs until they're like 21, 22. Here you are at 16 already getting jobs and going and learning new things, tasting new experiences, that sort of thing. So, how did this journey lead you to starting a career in marketing and recruitment? Kind of tell me about that.
So recruiting is very personal, like a personal connection based. Obviously you're hiring people, you're working with companies and stuff like that. And so our software basically helps hiring be a little bit easier. And so it's an applicant tracking system. So it's all about taking care of the candidate from posting a job to actually getting them hired. And so I've always loved being extra personal. So when I was in restaurants, when I was in landscaping, I made relationships landscaping with the homeowners that the owner couldn't even do. And it's just because I was relational. And so recruiting the specific industry it was kind of a perfect place for me to fall into because it takes a lot of personal connection. You're building that trust, you're building that relationship. And I've personally just really enjoyed it.
Awesome, man. Again, that's so interesting. Again, and one of the things that we started talking about before we came on was the fact that, talking about recruitment and coming in, we were talking about the aspect of the new recruit, that somebody that's walking in who doesn't have that experience. Kind of walk us through, a lot of the experiences and things that you've learned communicating with friends and people who are just that you knew growing up and that sort of thing, who barely starting out in the world, out of college and that sort of thing, with especially now dealing with it in COVID-19, in the whole pandemic era. Kind of tell us a little bit about that, because that was a really interesting aspect that we were talking about.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, I just turned 22. So like Gabriel said, I'm younger. So if I would have went to college, I would have graduated this month. And so I didn't go to college. I chose to go a different route, and I landed here, luckily. And so basically all my friends that I grew up with are graduating college right now. They went right after high school to get a 4-year degree. This is when they're graduating. And so I've had friends, they they signed their offer letter and they were going to get 65, 70 grand a year. And then COVID-19 happened and they rescinded their offer. And friends that got internships to finish out their program, and they rescinded the internship, that they're not doing any internships. And so what I was telling Gabriel before we got on here was there's a pro and a con to getting into your career now. The pro is you have not really much prior experience. And so a lot of companies actually like that because they can mold you into like the specific employee that they want you to be. And that's how some hiring managers like it. But then what me and Gabriel were talking about too is there's a lot of 5-10 year qualified older people that can get it off, and they're also applying for the jobs. So it kind of is dependent on what the company is. Is it more old school or more new school? And then who's actually hiring for the job? Are they wanting someone that they can kind of mold and build along the way? Or are they just wanting someone to come in and run the numbers and do their job? Exactly. And so if you get that good window of a company that's a little bit new school, the hiring manager is kind of wanting someone to be a little omniscient, like how my company is. You'll get it. But if you're just applying for those like marketing manager jobs, there's people that are way more qualified. They have the years of experience. They have the portfolio. So try to find the jobs that are a little bit different. It may not be your first choice, but you'll get the job.
Exactly right. So you're entering to a marketplace where now the competition, well, it was already tough, even if it was already tough, even if we didn't have COVID-19, right? Just getting into a position and that sort of thing. But now with people losing jobs and people that have experience, I mean, really good experience, who are out there who don't have employment at this point, they're going up against a lot of these, young college grads who are, again, hungry as well. But again, that's one of the things they're going to be looking at. So, wow, like kind of like what you're saying. If I'm the hiring manager, look, I got this guy. He's got 5 years experience working at a real well-established firm. And again, I got a young college kid who just has his, undergrad experience or whatever. I guess it kind of.
Well, that, and you think about it, another part of it is if you have someone that has 10 years in the industry, then they're more than likely going to be either starting a family or have a family. And so if you're going after a more old school company, they're going to cater more to the person who's providing for their family, not so much about the person that's just starting their career. Exactly
right. So you're again, it's a tough world, and that's one of the different aspects that I haven't heard too many people talk about. Because again, everybody's just worried about those who are already employed in the marketplace, losing their jobs, especially with high unemployment numbers. You're seeing all these people out there still waiting on unemployment benefits. There was so much backlog, right? And then again, now you got all these college kids who are ready. They're thinking they're ready here to attack the world, and you've come into a whole different time right now. This is nothing like we've ever seen as far as the job market, as far as going out and trying to find and establish yourself in a career. That's kind of crazy that this is what we deal with right now. So, but again, that's that's one of the things that I tell everybody. Yeah, this is the new normal. This is what I mean. I mean, you think of just not being able to go buy, or now you can, but you could buy toilet paper at everything. That's just not how it affects everything. I mean, it affects everything when you're talking about people going to go find their place in the world and build a livelihood. So, it's kind of you were kind of lucky to go and bypass college, because again, I don't think and again, on top of that, right, they're sitting there holding who knows, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 worth of debt now, and having to figure out, how am I going to make this work? Because I'm pretty
sure if I've heard correctly, like student loan payments are getting deferred a little bit, but it's like once you graduate, like they start, and so it's like, what do you do?
Right? You had the best well-laid plans a year ago, or even 6 months ago. You're going, I got a firm that's going to hire me. I was into their program, and I
did an internship with them, yada, yada, yada. Like, oh, I'm going to get it. And you get the job offer, you're like, okay, sweet, let's celebrate. And then it gets rescinded, and you're like, wait, Because I mean, a lot of people know that happen.
You're right. But again, you're sitting here and what do you think? A lot of these companies going, well, who do you think if we have to start furloughing people or getting rid of people, what are we going to get rid of first?
Well, the only other thing about hiring a new grad is you can offer them a lower salary or a lower hour. And so that's another advantage is, yeah, you just graduated, you want that big, like $60,000, $70,000 salary. But if you can live like well off of $40,000, $50,000, take it. Or if it's 60, 70 and you're in the interview, let them know you'll go a little bit under to save them some money, because no company wants to say it, but every company is hurting. And so they can save $10,000 on 10 employees. It's $100,000 a year.
Exactly.
They'll probably get back to you in a year, if not two, when everything kind of gets a little bit more leveled out. But if you can get in and you can just let them know, hey, I'm new. I know I don't have as much experience as some applicants, and I'll take 10 grand under what it's posted as.
Yeah.
That'll make it out.
Exactly. Right. And again, that wouldn't be the normal strategy to take. But again, we're doing unprecedented time, unprecedented things happening around us. So if you're trying to get into the marketplace, you got to do what you have to do and again, it's not going to be the end of the world, right? Here, who knows, a year or 2 years down the road, you can make that transition into something else. But again, by that point, you already have the experience put in. You've been working for a company, and you can still make different decisions down the road. Just right now, I think it's difficult. Just being able to go, that's one of the things that it was kind of tough. That I'm pretty sure a lot of HR managers right now were having to deal with. Because now can you imagine having maybe a certain amount of applicants go from this to jumping even higher at an accelerated rate once a lot of people started losing jobs? You're starting to get people who you wouldn't expect to see their type of resume on your desk.
Well, and the big thing, the problem that our company addresses is, since applications are going to skyrocket for no matter what job you're posting, because you're going to have someone applying to your janitor role, your entry-level salesperson role, your sales manager role, and the CFO. And it's going to be the same person. Yeah. And so the biggest problem that we're seeing is, if you don't have a process in place before, or if you didn't have a process in place before COVID-19 and your recruiting was kind of A-okay, but you really don't have a process in place now, having that mass flood of applicants, I mean, you're just going to be overwhelmed. You're going to miss people, because if you don't have a good process to actually get through or get the applicants through and make the ones that are extremely qualified that are applying stand out, I mean, it's going to make your job harder. And so as much as we can do to help, then that's what we're here for.
So what kind of, now that you've actually, you spent the time working in this role that you're currently in now. So what kind of advice would you give, some of these people who are now like these college kids or whatever, who aren't being able to fill these positions that they had planned on getting now? What kind of advice would you give them going out into the job place and just trying to find any kind of employment? Because again, I think right now it's you take what you can get.
Exactly. I think part of it is what I said, write down, let's say on the draw paper in half. On the left side, say what job titles you actually want, what you would have loved to do right out of college. On the right side, then write down, okay, you know what? I have skills in this. I could probably do this job well, and I may even want to go into it. As long as you didn't do an internship doing it and you're I really hate that, I'm not doing it. But write down something that you're hey, you know what? I want to be a marketing manager, but maybe I could do social media marketing. Or I want to be a salesperson, but maybe I could do online sales, or I could go to a car dealership, something like that. And so just kind of widen your net of job titles you're searching for. And then just really the best advice I can give is, don't just do the easy apply on Indeed and just hit as many jobs as you possibly can, hoping that one will stick. Actually do your research So find a company that's hiring for a position that you want. See if you can find the hiring manager for that. If it's on LinkedIn, it'll say who the hiring manager is. Message them, say, hey, I just applied for this job. This is what I'm going through. This is what my degree's in. I would love to work for your company. Try to make that personal connection, or even if you could try to find their phone number, email somebody. Don't just apply and think that you're going to get through.
Right. You want to make that, and that's what this is all about, right? Is making personal connections. Because again, one of the questions I kind of had for you was, how have you had to adapt in this the new environment as far as dealing with what you do in your career? Because again, we talked about this a little bit, and a lot of it was being in person at events, being able to meet and coordinate people. So how's that changed the way that you operate, and how you've had to adjust your career?
So probably the biggest thing, like you kind of hit on the head, is events. So being in sales, being in a startup for the US, you're very out front. You're very going to breakfast, lunches, dinners, like networking events, happy hours, as many as you can go to that is obviously okay with your family. And so I was out. I was busy all week, pretty much every night, like a few lunches during the week. And then that all stopped. And so, I was planning on going to San Diego for a conference, like Vegas in a couple of months for another conference, and all those were canceled. And so everything has just honed in online. Yeah. And so luckily, I made connections like Michael Goldberg, like me and he does a weekly happy hour. And so luckily, because I'd already been in my career, I'd made connections with people that were kind of starting this online presence, online gathering, happy hour kind of thing. And then being VP of communications for an organization, we kind of had to pivot and do everything online as well. And so luckily I had enough people around me that were going to events and could invite me. But if I would have just started, I wouldn't have even known where to even begin going to online events, let alone go to in-person events.
Right. So, again, some people have kind of been ready and tailored for this. So shout out to Michael Goldberg. If you don't see this, I'll send this to you.
Yeah.
He's been a previous guest on episode number 27. As a matter of fact, that's kind of crazy. I still remember that number. But, the way that he's kind of marketed what he's doing, how he's connecting with people. And that's how we connected is through one of his events, which is kind of awesome that I'm finding these networking events like this that he hosts quite regularly, an interesting way to meet new people, to actually virtually be able to network, where as opposed to if this was out in the out at a public venue or something, I would have never been able to met somebody like Owen or some of the people that I met that day. Just a few shout outs to Teresa Nordstrom. She's somebody I connected with and you know as well. And then David Jaramillo, he was another one that I connected with through Michael Goldberg. So yes, this is these things have been wonderful for
just being open. You got to be receptive to what's coming at you. And I think that's something that, like you're asking for advice for people that are coming out of college looking for a job. Probably another piece of it is just don't be so specific. Yes, the world is going to give you whatever you want because that's what you want. But don't be so specific right now. Be open. Be tangible with what you're looking for, with what you'll be paid. At the end of the day, even if your family's giving you a hard time because you may not be looking for the job that they want you to have, they're going to be extremely happy that you at least have a job. And so don't get too caught up in the details. Just kind of put yourself out there.
And even now, like you're talking about, right? Some of these events are really great ways to plant seeds to build relationships that who knows, again, down the line, how they'll be able to help you. So, if you get the opportunity to go to one of these things, just meet and connect with people, start building these relationships with other folks who are either like-minded or in the kind of the career fields that you're hoping to get into at some point, and start learning. And because again, you'll find that a lot of these people are very open, very receptive to,
Especially now.
yes,
And
yes,
there's a lot of people in the industry, like whether it be sales, marketing, accounting, whatever it is, that still have, whether it's their business or they're working, and they have some extra time and they can mentor you or they can give you advice an hour per month or whatever it could be. And the easy way to find it is like go on Facebook and just type in whatever job you're wanting and just type in that like job title and then group and maybe your city if you want. And just join some groups, see what people are talking about, see if there's any events they're posting. There's Slack channels that you can join, which have actually been really successful for me. Being a salesperson, I found it as like a super awesome niche because people don't really think about Slack channels as a networking tool. I found like 5 of them that are specifically in like my target, and I just like connect with people and comment and provide, like we're actually giving our software away for free until the end of this year, just to help people come back from COVID. So if anyone's out there and you want an ATS and you don't want to spend any money, then just let me know and we'll give it to you until January 1st.
listen to that, guys. So again, these are unprecedented times. Things like these are being opened. These are opportunities, folks. Whether you realize it or not. So, the people that are still with their head in their hands, trying to figure out what direction to go to, I think this is really the time where they should be looking, like you said, at these different channels, these different methods. To finding what you want to really get into, because again, this is how I've been able to learn so much. It's just simply by reaching out to people who have the time right now, just like you mentioned, who are willing to open themselves up and mentor and give you advice and give you tips that you could,
Yeah.
you probably could get 30 minutes of their time.
Well, and the biggest thing is, and I don't know how this is even possible, but I think you've seen this too. The people that, let's say they're consultants or they're talent coaches or they're just really successful people in their industry, usually before this, they would have charged you money for their time.
Yes.
And the amount of people that are wanting to give back right now, I mean, just take advantage of it. Like people will let you schedule meetings with them that usually would be $100, $200, $500 an hour, and they're doing it for free and just soak it all in.
Exactly, right. They're giving you free workshops. They're giving you free access to a lot of their coaching tools, a lot of these things that can help you grow and develop as a person for free right now. So again, if you're not taking advantage of this right now, man, you are really dropping the ball, because again, there's so many different ways, so many different avenues right now that you can go out there and learn new skills, work on your soft skills, whatever it is that you're trying to improve on. And man, by the time everything opens back up and there's a stream of jobs opening up again, and businesses are opening up to taking new people, that sort of thing, man, you're going to have a lot more experiences, a lot more things that you're going to be able to tack on to your resume. I mean, I tell people right now, if you're connected on LinkedIn and you have the premium, they have learning platforms where you can get certificates, that you can go take the time, again, for some people who are just sitting at home, to go add these things, get these skills, and use them and turn them around and say, hey, look, these are things that I've learned while I was in quarantine and I didn't have anything going on.
Well, and something that I think is going to be very common, one is whenever the world actually comes back to full force as it was, which won't be for a while, but when it does, you want to be ready to take that job, and you want to not have like you said, your head in your hands. You want to be actively ready. And the thing is if you're not doing stuff right now, like if your head is still in your hands, it's been 2 months. Like, yeah, okay, you know what? Life is hard, but like you need to like kind of pick crap up, like for lack of a term. And the other thing is, I think if you're still job searching through this and this is over, I think one of the first interview questions that people are going to ask is, what did you do during COVID-19?
Right. And again, you get people that are
a very powerful weed out question for applications. And if you're not doing anything, you can't lie about it. It's your application.
Right. So again, this has been a time for people to really look and take a really deep look inside and just get some kind of perspective on what they want to do going forward. Because again, this is nothing like we've ever had to deal with in our lifetimes. Nothing has ever been this magnitude where they shut down businesses and schools and governments. And again, you're talking about, we haven't seen unemployment numbers like this since.
Well, if you think about it, something that people don't think about is background checks. Like you
Yeah.
said, like people being out of work, like even when people are hiring, background checks are getting delayed because if they're from a smaller town and they have a county clerk and it's not on electric files, they can't go access it.
Yeah.
And like things that you would never dream of, like getting your background checked, are getting delayed.
Yeah. So it's been a backwash. But again, here's the good thing, right? Here's the wonderful thing about everything that's going on. You still have the opportunity to go make the best for yourself.
Exactly.
And you
That's
just
that.
yeah, you just have to find the channels and the opportunities to want to go out there and make whatever you want to go create or whatever you want to go do. I think right now
Is like, let's say you weren't sure about your career, you weren't actually sure what you wanted to go and do. Try different things. Do something that you would have never done. Like take 3 hours and watch a presentation. I mean, last week there was a 2-day webinar that I had on in the background, and it was about sales, but that's actually what I'm doing. So that's a little bit more relevant. But
yeah.
just watch something about something that like you might be interested in, and see if you are. If it sparks your interest, heck, go for it.
Right. I mean, what role, what regulation, there's nothing that says you can't go try something new and find a joy, a passion, whatever it is in what you want to doing. Like even now, I think both of us have kind of broached the subject of wanting to go start our own businesses. Right. This is something that I haven't the foggiest idea how it was going to work, but I had to go start learning how to at least how to start the process. You know what
Exactly.
it is.
Now you're on number 66 of podcast episodes, and you have what, 20 more scheduled. Like,
Yeah. So right, and again, this is something that you go out and these are things that are starting to kind of open and present themselves to me. So because again, I went and tried something new, not something that I had no clue how it was going to help me out. So I didn't know that video streaming, video creation, content creation were such big tools and big things out in the marketplace. I just got on LinkedIn because again, I did the same thing that every single person that I hear talk about getting on LinkedIn says. I just went there looking for a job, or because again, that's
no idea. And that's where like I had no idea how powerful LinkedIn was before I was in like corporate. Like I've had an account for years, but like never used it. And now I have like friends that are graduating college, and they're like friending me or like whatever it is on LinkedIn.
yeah.
And like they're just starting, so they have like 40 connections, and I'm like 700 connections deep, and I'm like, why is this like normal for me now?
Yeah, right.
It's
So
a little kind of like funny little area of social media.
again, it's because of the stigma that it's had. That people thought that this was just a online CV that they could go out there and put their resume on and just connect with business folks. And it's actually a really great social media platform. I tell people it's amazing because again, yes, you do have the stigma of a business culture, but you also get the stigma of people putting their own personality and their openness and their vulnerability out there, and it kind of makes this it melds into this wonderful pot of whatever. I don't know exactly what to call it, but I've never
Very different. And,
yeah.
and like if you're torn, because I was torn about going into business. My dad's been in corporate my entire life, and I always swore I was like, I'm never gonna follow his footsteps. Like I don't want to go into corporate America. And then I got my own taste of it in a very different way. He's always been in bigger businesses, and I'm in a small business. And so I realized I like the small business corporate America. And so if you're like interested in like, am I going to like business? Just go look at LinkedIn. Just like scroll through some things, read things. That will give you a sense of like what the business like world is kind of like. And for me, it's like, if you don't like it, business isn't for everybody. And so like for me, I did residential construction up in Colorado. So redoing decks, building like 30-foot decks and redoing homes and remodels and stuff like that. I actually liked it. It was like something that sparked my interest, but it's what I wanted to do as a hobby. I didn't like waking up every day, Monday through Friday, doing it, but I did it, figured that out, and I was like, cool, I now know this stuff, but I'm actually not going to do that for a career.
Right. And, that's one of the things that everybody who, I've been able to reach out because of what I'm creating here in this forum is the fact that, a lot of the people have the, they want to go out and follow what makes them passionate every day. They want to go out and do the things. And for a lot of people, it's helping others grow. It's helping others develop. It's helping others, because again, there's so much in it. There's so much in helping somebody. That's kind of like what I love doing as well. I love helping bring people into the limelight and showcasing their stories, their talents, what they have to offer. Because again, I think I've said this numerous times, I think everybody's story has value. Whether it was like you, where you started young as a horse wrangler and worked different jobs and done all this thing, and now you're in corporate America, or somebody who's, again, I've had people who were, again, like the gentleman last night, he was a former NFL player, but, he went through the tough times, the same sort of thing. And now he's coaching people on business because he grew his business very big. It failed, right? He had to learn how to fail. And then he did it again. And now he's become even more successful, come out of the light. So it doesn't matter where you start from and where you get to, but I think it's how the journey, how you learn your journey and how you able to connect and start helping others. I think that's where you start really making an impact. It's just by being helping others learn and grow, because again, it helps you. It helps you.
It's a classic saying of, if you can teach someone to do something, then you've mastered it. So if you're able to do something and then train someone or teach them to do it, it actually shows that you have so much more knowledge of it than you even knew.
Exactly right. Even when I start showing people that, perfectly to your point, when I start showing people how to do video or creating or being creative with live streams and that sort of thing, it kind of throws me back to go, wow, you know how to do all this. That's pretty awesome. Thank you for showing me. They're so very, they're very receptive. And I go, well, it felt like nothing to me though,
Yeah, and that's when you've taken the time to hone your craft. And it's just such a good feeling when you do that.
Yeah, even now, I mean, I had a lady who is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area who reached out to me, and she wanted to know, hey, how do you do this? I saw one of your shows. I was just curious. So I said, yeah, you got 10 minutes to hop on a Zoom call? Sure. We got on, we talked. I kind of, was walked her through the process, and I go, look, I even have a PDF that I've written out all this information on. I'll have video courses pretty soon to kind of walk you through it. But here's just something to start out with, and she was
appreciative, wasn't she?
Yes. Oh yeah. So thing, and I tell them, I want to do this. I really want to do this, and I want to make it where it's affordable for everybody to learn how to do, because it's again, a lot of the skills, a lot of things that I put together, a lot of things that I've learned from other people.
It's just all about feedback. I think this time made people more receptive to being just like human again. And I know that's everywhere. It's like every company's slogan right now of like, be human. But at the end of the day, it's true. Like, it's just about helping your neighbor. It's about letting people know what you know. And so that's why when you offered on the happy hour to come on here, I was like, why not? I've never done a live interview. So
Right. And now you'll have something to go back and say, look, I have, here's the link to YouTube. When I was on his show, we talked about these certain things. And, again, I think it's just a great way to help you to grow and develop, helps me grow and develop, because again, I get to practice my skills of interviewing. I get to practice my skills of video creation and content creation. So I think it's a win-win for everybody that
exactly.
has the opportunity to come on, because I say you have nothing to lose. It's
really stupid.
Yeah, right. So, and it's not like I'm saying, well, I charge everybody to come on the show. No, it's, do you want to come on? Let's have a talk. Let's have a conversation, and let's go ahead and talk about what your journey and what your experiences are. And people find that it's very easy at some point to start talking about what they've done and what they've learned. And before you know it, they go, wow, that was fun. Of course,
Exactly.
of course it is, because you're talking about what you love and what you're passionate about. And
Well, what I love about what you did is like you started this, like you said, like during this whole COVID part. And so I think what would be really cool for you is to circle back around with kind of like the really good conversations you had, or even the really hard conversations you had, like 6 months, a year from now, and do like a post-COVID interview. And then they'll show that like this is the interview that I did during COVID, and this is the interview I did when I was back on my feet, or a year after.
that's
And
a
so
very, very good aspect about it. One of the people that I've had on, she's right now watching on Instagram. Hello, Harpreet. She's awesome. She works for Microsoft, right? So that she'd be one of the really good ones that I would love to go back and have a post COVID-19 interview with, because again, she's in charge. She was the manager of her team's team building for Microsoft. And one of the things that she had to do, of course, was learning how to do video conferencing and everything else on the fly. So, and this was at the very beginning of it, so it was a whole different aspect of how they had to connect, communicate. You couldn't, again, there was no more going into the office. There was no more upfront conversations. And you had the dynamic of, for a lot of people, working from home for the first time. And then secondly, having the dynamic for some of these people, having their kids at home in the background, or working with their spouses who now had to work from home. So it was a whole different dynamic. And, it was such a cluster to mess with at the very beginning.
well, then it's like, how as a manager do you support the people that you have under you too? It's like, do you call each one of them? Do you just email them? Do you text them? Do you ask them about their family? Do you leave family alone? Like, it was a crazy time.
Yeah, and that was a whole nother aspect to it, because again, we were all, it was literally one day, hey, we're in the office, everybody's talking, everybody's communicating, we're having meetings and that sort of thing, to it's done. There's no more of it. We're cutting it off starting now. And you're thrown into this whole dynamic of, okay, well, what do we do? How do we, again, that's why guys who were already set up doing, who were used to working remotely, who had the abilities and the skills to put these together, those were the guys who were really jumping in the forefront, saying, hey, let me get the teams together, how to do this. Let me put these together for the company, do these things. And these are guys that took the opportunity and ran with it. And those guys are, I'm pretty sure right now, really flourishing.
That's where it's really cool too, because like even if you're in a big business like Microsoft or Pepsi or like whatever it could be, you can do like what you're doing on the side, because you have a day job. You're doing this on the like, let's say your company ever was like, hey, we're trying to do like videos for like our clients or whatever it could be, or we're trying to do something like online. You'd be like, hey, I do this on the side, I can help out. And that's probably where a lot of people inside big businesses, they're like, hey, I already do podcasts, or I already do video conferencing, or I have my own like things set up. Let me teach you how to do it. And so just don't like, the other thing like that I'd give as just advice, just real quick, is like, don't let your job be your life. That's something that I'm really appreciative. My boss, he actually when I was first hired, he said, I'm never going to let your job come between you and your wife, because I got married a month after I started my job.
Yeah.
So right before, and he's held true to that. So if I'm like, hey, I need an afternoon. I've been busy all week. I'm taking the afternoon to be with my wife. He's like, you know what? Go do it. And so don't make your job your life. It's not what it is.
Super cool too. That's a super good attitude to have. And that's one of the things that I think that the businesses that know how to keep their employees, that's one of the awesome things about it. They don't micromanage that. They don't sit there over the top and have to be on top of. And again, this
you're typing every key that they're telling you.
Right, and this is one of the things that's been a different advantage about dealing with COVID-19 and everything else, is because again, now you weren't able to do that. Now you weren't able to stand over your and micromanage, and I think this has been, hopefully it's been kind of helpful for us different managers and that sort of thing, to not have to okay, I know now that this person can be just trustworthy to do their work. I don't have to be on top of them all the time, and we can still get the job done. So that's another good aspect about what's going on. It's kind of take that.
And someone, I was talking with someone, we were talking about how this time is going to weed out good managers and bad managers just as much.
Yes. Awesome. So let me go ahead and ask you the question that I ask every single guest that comes on the show, no matter what we're talking about or where we are. So I have a question, and it's kind of a little bit more, but not too much. But I said, and you're relatively young, but again, I still ask everybody. I've even asked this to a 16-year-old. But again, once the book is said and done on you, and your time on Earth is over, what kind of legacy do you want to be? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, and what do you want to be remembered for?
It's a great question. It's obviously a hard one, because you never know when it's going to be. So it's like, is that what's happening right now?
No.
But I mean, I've thought about it a couple of times, of just like, obviously being married young too. Like, I was like, okay, what do I want my family to look like? How do I want to do that? And so I think a couple of the key things for me is I want to be remembered as someone who never was like, never did anything for themselves. Like, not in a bad way, just was an extremely selfless person. Hey, you know what? You need to borrow this truck or this wrench or this TV here. Like, I don't need it. Like, I hope that people see me as someone who doesn't view the world through things. I view things through the world in a way.
There you go.
And so that's one of them. And then just that I'm able to leave a family, obviously. Like, I can't wait to have kids, which is hopefully a little bit down the road. But just that I never, like I mentioned, I never put work above my family. That at the end of the day, family is everything. And I just really hope that when I do go, that they're like, hey, you know what? That's someone that I would like to be my dad, or that's someone I would like to like model my life after in a way.
That's a really great answer, though. I mean, even though that you have a different perspective, where somebody who might be older in age, still, that's great to want to be selfless, to want to be able to share that. And that's, man, awesome. Owen, I love the fact we had this conversation. So let me give a few, again, shout outs to everybody who's been watching the show. So Noah, thank you so much. Dylan Waters, thank you. Michelle, thank you so much. Eric, David, and Marco from Thailand. Wow. All the way from Thailand watching. How amazing is
my friends in New Zealand.
There you go, right? How amazing is this? It's
Thursday. It's their Wednesday morning right now.
It's Wednesday morning. Then I got people watching, of course, on Facebook and other channels. So Fred Harvey, thank you so much. Carrie Calderon, thank you. Roger Love, Jeremy Shrick, I'm sorry. Cynthia, Shana Rama, Mike Padurano, and then Ronaldo, Francine Sinclair. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are awesome, because you're the ones who make this show what it is. And then, of course, watching on Instagram is Harpreet. Thank you, Harpreet. She's been on the show. She was episode number 38. So I try to remember these people and their numbers on here. So I'll remember you as episode 66. So going forward, I'll go, hey, I remember Owen, he was on episode 66. So But the goal, this has been awesome. And again, I love the fact that so many people come along every day, and I get to be blessed enough to share this forum, share everybody that wants to have the opportunity to come on here and talk. So, thank you. I still got people. And me, yes, Julie. Thank you, Julie. Julie Biller Hunt. Thank you so much for watching. And then Eric's in California. So Eric, awesome, my friend. Hope everything's going good out there for you. I know it's been a little bit different. Thank you. You make the show, Eric, not me. I'm just the conduit to kind of bring this along. You guys are what make this rock. And, gosh, always eternally grateful. All the gratitude in the world, guys, for everybody that's helped build me up. And thank you again, Owen, for coming on the show. It was awesome.
Thanks for having me, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I tell everybody it's going to probably be the fastest hour you've been on. So here we are at 58 minutes and 21 seconds, and it goes by so fast. Because, again, you start talking about great conversations, what you want to share, who you are as a person. And, I mean, people love it. And people make, so there you go. Proud Papa. Thank you for the show. So you got fans, my friend. That's awesome. So thank you so much. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching the show. Thank you so much for following along. Thank you, Harpreet, for watching on Instagram. Everybody that's been watching there, everybody that's been watching on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. You guys are awesome. You make this show rock. So before I get out of here, just a quick shout out to tomorrow evening's guest. He is the host of the wildly popular show on LinkedIn, the Poscast. I'll be having Adam Posner on tomorrow, and we'll have hopefully a cool conversation, and really want to dig into his brain because he's been one of the inspirations for me when I first started getting on live streaming. So thank you guys so much. And there you go. Boo. Awesome. Don't you love family? It makes all right. Thank you, Marco.
Bear.
Yeah, there you go. So thank you, Marco. Thank you, Jeremy. Again, thank you, Owen, for coming on the show, guys. I will see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, same channel. Stay safe, stay blessed. Follow good social distancing. I know the world's opening up, but again, it's still out there. We'll all get past this together. So you guys rock. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Tell everybody bye, Owen. We're out of here.
Thanks for jumping on.
No problem. Just sit tight. I'm going to talk to you afterwards, okay?